Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 11 based on novel. So let's start. After Lin Langqian fled, the tense atmosphere that had shrouded the ancient field also suddenly weakened gradually. Everyone immediately quietly sighed in relief. Their eyes contained a rich fear and respect when they looked at the figure in the midair once again. All of them clearly understood that once the matter today was leaked to the outside world, Lin Dong's name would shake the entire northwestern region. In fact, he would even possess some reputation in this indefinitely large ancient battlefield. Lin Dong's eyes merely shifted slightly in the face of everyone's frightened and respectful gazes. Immediately, he landed from the air with a calm expression. With a wave of his sleeves, the soul of the heavenly crocodile in the sky swiftly paled before transforming into a bright red glow and once again entered into the heavenly crocodile bone spear. The summoning of the heavenly crocodile's soul this time around had directly exhausted the two ancient bloodline in Lin Dong's hands. If he was unable to obtain such a bloodline in the future, it was likely extremely difficult to summon the heavenly crocodile's soul again. Although Lin Dong had lost two ancient bloodlines, the deterrence that he had created was also quite great. From the looks of the gazes of those around, it was clear that there would no longer be any blind person who would come and irritate Lin Dong. This battle had also beaten his sworn enemy, Lin Langqian, until the latter had received a serious injury to the point where it was impossible to tell if he would remain alive or dead. According to Lin Dong's estimate, that finger had an 80% chance of killing Lin Langqian. He really could not imagine just who could save a person whose consciousness had been eroded to such a serious extent. Even that mysterious Yuan spirit did not possess this ability. "Big brother, you alright?" Little Flame also quickly walked over at this moment. His eyes looked at Lin Dong's face, which was a little flush red, as he inquired. Lin Dong rubbed his chest that still had a remnant intense pain. That firm punch that Lin Langqian had landed earlier caused the interior of his body to be far from calm at this moment. Clearly, he was a little wounded. However, it was forcefully suppressed by him. Although he had established a majestic appearance from the earlier big battle, no one could guarantee that there would not be anyone else who were crazy with greed in the face of the allure from the four great mysterious sects. Little Flame clearly understood Lin Dong extremely well. When the former saw him in this manner, he slowly clenched the metal rod in his hand and stepped forward. He appeared just like a metal pagoda beside Lin Dong. Hostility flashed across those tiger eyes of his. With the end of the intense fight, the wide field had currently descended into an abnormal silence. It was as though no one had completely recovered from the big battle earlier. Brother Lin Dong really possessed some hidden skills. Once word of this battle spread, it is likely that you will also possess the qualification to advance into the Nirvana ranking. The first person to speak was Liu Bai, who had been an observer from the very beginning. He smiled towards Lin Dong as he uttered those words. "It is just some unorthodox method. I was lucky." Lin Dong did not dare to slight this person, who was the one with the most hidden abilities amongst the four great overlords of the northwestern region. By relying on the perception of his mental energy, he was able to sense that the strength of this Liu Bai was definitely greater than Tianjin and the two others. It was best that he did not easily offend such a person at this moment. Although Liu Bai did not intervene and aid Lin Dong earlier, it was clear that Lin Dong would not bear a grudge over it. The relationship between them was a shallow one. Previously, since Liu Bai did not take advantage of the situation and attack him, it could have counted as a form of assistance as well. If Liu Bai's group had also attacked earlier, it was likely that Lin Dong could only flee miserable today, regardless of how many trump cards he possessed. Although he was confident, he was not arrogant. Fighting Tianjin's full men group was already reaching his limit. There are only victors in this world and not luck. Yang Sen by the side laughed faintly. His eyes stared at Lin Dong and uttered, "Looks like I have underestimated you. If it is not because the location now is inappropriate, I might be unable to control myself and spare with you." Pluto Hand Yang Sen is quite renowned in this ancient battlefield. However, if you wish to fight with brother Lin Dong, it is really impossible to predict just who will end up defeated. Liu Bai smilingly said. The corner of Yang Sen's mouth moved, but he remained non-committal. Pluto hand Yang Sen. Lin Dong was slightly startled. It seemed that this Yang Sen was indeed no ordinary being. However, he was clearly not as well informed as Liu Bai's group. Therefore, he was unaware of what rumors there were about this Yang Sen. However, I am very curious as to why a person like you, who has been roaming in the northeastern region, would come to our northwestern region. Although this ancient treasure trove is extraordinary, I heard that the northeastern region also possessed quite a great treasure, no? Liu Bai smilingly asked. There are super empires who have targeted the treasure in the northeastern region. Comparatively, this northwestern region is the weakest place amongst the few large regions. Naturally, I have chosen to come here to shake things up. Yang Sen spoke faintly. Lin Dong vaguely had some understanding of the outer areas of this ancient battlefield after hearing the conversation between the two by the side. There were countless number of treasures in this ancient battlefield. Even a treasure that was on a level similar to this ancient treasure trove was not unique. There was only half a year's time to the 100 Empires War. During this remaining time, those experts who wanted to stand out in the 100 Empires War would need to obtain various inheritance, absorb, hone and completely control them. Hence, it was likely that this entire ancient battlefield had descended into a frenzy in search for treasures. Even those super empires, which were blessed with an extremely strong background, were unwilling to fall behind. Intense fights similar to the one that had occurred in this ancient treasure trove are likely currently appearing one after another in various places within the ancient battlefield. At this moment, almost everyone were attempting to strengthen themselves. This was because the 100 Empires War was where the true elites would gather. Attempting to stand out amongst those countless number of geniuses and be selected by those super sects was no simple task. Liu Bai smiled. After which, he ceased saying anything else. Instead, he turned his head and looked at the 4 large ancient doors on the field. A heated expression gradually surfaced in his eyes. Sign the fight is already over. We should begin the most important step. Liu Bai extended his hand. An ancient secret key appeared on it. Meanwhile, rays of light were scattered from the secret key. Following the unique glow that was scattered from the secret key, an ancient large door, which had remained still and without activity despite the various techniques used by those around, actually had a faint luster seeping out from it. Kai? The ancient secret key slowly drifted from Liu Bai's hands. The glow emitted became increasingly dense. Finally, the light gathered and seemed to have formed a mysterious symbol that shone onto the tightly shut ancient door. Boom! After the mysterious symbol light was shone onto it, the large bronze door, which had been tightly shut for countless number of years, finally slowly formed a gap in front of the many boiling hot eyes. Keek, Brother Lin Dong, it seems that my secret key is the key to this bronze door. We shall enter first. Let us meet up if there is an opportunity to do so in the future. Liu Bai's heated eyes looked at the bronze door where a gap had been created. After which, he smiled towards Lin Dong. With a wave of his hand, the ancient secret key unleashed a light circle that covered his group. After which, they emitted a swoosh sound and charged into the bronze door. Creak! After Liu Bai's group entered, the bronze door, which had opened to reveal a slight gap, was once again tightly shut. This caused everyone to be disappointed. Let's do it too. An excitement rose in Lin Dong's heart after seeing Liu Bai's group successfully entering the bronze door and obtain an inheritance. After which, he turned towards Little Flame and uttered those words. All right. Little Flame nodded. The two of them took out an ancient secret key at the same time. Soon after, 2 ancient bronze doors emitted a unique glow. Signs of it being opened was vaguely present. At the same time, Yang Sen had also took out his secret key which echoed with the last large bronze door. Everyone around the large field watched this scene with incomparable greed. The breathing of some people involuntarily became ragged. Clearly, there was a struggle between their greed and reasoning. Lin Dong acted as though he did not notice the many pairs of greedy eyes around him. His gaze merely stared at the bronze door, which the secret key in his hand had made contact with. He could sense the ancient ripple that was present within the large bronze door. A kind of chain from somewhere seeped out from within and lingered around Lin Dong. Is this the inheritance that belongs to me? Lindong muttered to himself. Immediately, the ancient secret key in his hand formed an old symbol that was imprinted onto the large bronze door. After which, the sealed large door was finally slowly opened. Creak! At the same time, the two bronze doors in front of Little Flame and Yang Sen were also gradually opened. And Primeval scent was slowly spreading from within it. Little Flame, be careful. A light wrapped around Lindong. He could sense the suction force that was being emitted from the bronze door, vaguely pulling his body into it. Immediately, he turned his head, faced Little Flame and reminded with a gay voice. Subsequently, the two of them would be separated for some time. No one knew just what they would meet in that inheritance. By giving an ancient secret key to Little Flame, Lindong had given him a great opportunity. Whether Little Flame would be able to make full use of the opportunity would be determined by his own ability. Yes? Little Flame nodded heavily. He knew that this ancient secret key was very precious. In fact, they had to survive an intense life and death battle in order to retain this key. Kai? The bodies of the trio began to be lifted after being wrapped by the light circles. After which, they rushed towards that open bronze door. Swoosh! Just as the three of them moved, over 10 figures with blood-red eyes suddenly rushed out from around them. However, they were attacking. Instead, they directly charged towards the open bronze doors. It seemed that there were still many people who could not control the greed in their hearts. Boom boom. Lindong's group quietly watched the 10+ figures that had charged forward and shook their heads slightly. After which, they saw that the bodies of these people suddenly blasting into clusters of fresh when they were just about to enter the bronze door. Fresh blood scattered across the field. The blood scent spread, causing the expressions of those who were about to act to turn pale. Amidst those many gazes that were gradually turning dim from disappointment, Lindong's group finally rushed into that ancient bronze doors. After which, the large doors emitted a creak before it slowly shut off. They were lasting and unmoving, appearing just like earlier, when they were covered in dust. Everything in front of Lindong's eyes swiftly became dark the instant he entered the large bronze door. All of his senses even appeared to have been sealed within his body. His original powerful mental energy that lingered around his body was also directly and forcefully suppressed back into his body. This sudden sealing caused Lindong to be slightly shocked. However, he did not overly panic. After musing for a moment, he finally began to gradually relax. Not long after Lindong's body relaxed, the darkness suddenly disappeared. Rays of light once again broke through the darkness and shone onto Lindong. Lindong narrowed his eyes. He adapted to this kind of light for a moment before slowly widening his eyes. An incomparably large door was imprinted into his eyes. Lindong was as small as an ant when standing in front of this gigantic door. He raised his head and observed it. The kind of pressurizing feeling from the door was so vast and mighty that it caused his heart to tremble violently. The enormous door was pale green in color. However, it was not shut at this moment. Instead, it was in a kind of open state. Lindong's gaze looked behind the large door. Everything was hazy and he was unable to clearly see anything. The extreme atypical and mysterious state caused him to become exceptionally careful. His heart also slowly sunk. This place, is this the site of the 4 great mysterious sects' inheritance? Lindong muttered to himself. The shock in his heart finally calmed gradually as he looked at the large open door. Buzz 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 buzz. A green glow suddenly gathered on that enormous door while Lindong was muttering to himself. There seemed to be an ancient character vaguely floating on it. It carried the heaviness of a tale that possessed the charm to capture one's heart. For Great Mysterious Sect, Green Dragon Hall. Lindong stared at those ancient characters and softly spoke. Green Dragon Hall. Is this one of the 4 great mysterious sects? The green glowing ancient characters once again appeared on the enormous door while Lindong was musing. The green dragon test is extremely dangerous. Most would die attempting it. Think twice before entering. Think twice before entering. The 2, think twice before entering, were highlighted with a bloody light, giving it a fierce and brutal appearance. Anyone who saw these words would be somewhat gripped with fear. Lin Dong inhaled a deep breath of air. There's still a test, huh? Lin Dong looked at these ancient characters and began to frown slightly. He did not expect that he was actually unable to successfully obtain the inheritance even after experiencing a fight and entering the bronze door. Instead, he had to pass through this so-called green dragon test. Lin Dong looked around this mysterious place. It seemed that there was only one path in front of him. At this point, he could not even retreat. He involuntarily felt a little helpless. The person who designed this place was truly quite peculiar. On one hand, he told others to think twice before entering, on the other hand, he had sealed off one's retreat path. Clearly, the only path that one could take was to enter this enormous door and experience that so-called green dragon test. What was there to be careful and think twice about? Lin Dong quietly cursed the designer of this space in his heart. After which, he lifted his foot and walked towards the large open door. He had arrived here after much difficulty. Forget about a mere test. Even if he had to experience great danger, he would still make an attempt without resigning to the situation. This was because he clearly understood that he must rely on these ancient inheritance in order to stand out in this ancient battlefield that was filled with geniuses. A person's hard work was indeed extremely important. However, these ancient inheritance could allow one's hard work to be rewarded by 10 times or even a couple of dozen times. Moreover, Lin Dong did not have the additional time to search for another treasure and obtain the inheritance within it. Hence, he could only continue this path at this moment. Green Dragon Test. I want to experience just how dangerous you are. Lin Dong's expression changed slightly as he stood in front of the large door. Finally, he gritted his teeth and ceased hesitating. With a step forward, he entered through the door. The expected darkness did not appear after Lin Dong stepped across the door. His gaze merely became dazed with lightning-like speed. Next, he sensed that the surrounding place had suddenly changed. Bang! A bang suddenly resounded in Lin Dong's ears as a thunderbolt rushed past. The silver light shone onto Lin Dong's body. Those usually calm eyes were currently gradually being occupied by traces of shock. A seemingly endless silver-colored sea was being reflected from Lin Dong's eyes. The top of this sea was dark clouds that stretched to the horizon. The dark clouds was of an unknown thickness with lightning flowing within it. Numerous gigantic thunderbolts whizzed down like furious dragons brandishing their claws. Finally, they mercilessly smashed onto the silver-colored sea below. Bang! Large waves began to surge over the sea after it was being struck by the thunderbolt. However, Lin Dong was able to see a flickering lightning amidst the waves. The sea water was actually being completely filled by electricity. Hiss! Even with Lin Dong's calmness, he still involuntarily inhaled a breath of cold air upon seeing this scene. He suddenly looked around him and discovered that he was already within this sea. There was only a 10 feet large rock under his feet. Numerous lightning of various liquids spread apart, striking onto the rock. The liquid shot out and landed onto Lin Dong's legs. Immediately, a piercing pain sensation was transmitted from it. The electric liquid was actually real. That piercing pain caused Lin Dong's body to suddenly tremble. His eyes involuntarily shrunk. Originally, he had thought that this might be an illusion. However, that kind of pain caused him to understand that this unbelievable sea of lightning in front of him was actually real. The current him was deep within this electric sea. Lin Dong felt his head immediately turn numb when he thought of this. Only at this moment did he understood how terrifying this green dragon test was. This might not be some blade mountain or sea of fire, but it was a sea of lightning that was even more terrifying than a sea of fire. It is actually possible to do something like this. Looks like the strength of the person who created this test is quite terrifying. Little Martin finally came out from Lin Dong's body at this moment. It looked at the sea of lightning that spread to the horizon. A surprise involuntarily flashed across his eyes when he did so. Could it be that this test intends for me to pass through this sea of lightning? Lin Dong raised his head. Enormous thunderbolt descended from the thick dark clouds like a storm. Looking from afar, It appeared just like a lightning curtain and was incomparably spectacular. The might of the heavens was just like a prison. Lin Dong sensed a wild and violent energy from those thunderbolts. Even if it was him, it was likely that he would not be able to endure if he was repeatedly struck by this kind of thunderbolt. It should be intended for you to charge through these things. You can only pray in the face of these things. Little Martin spread its claws and innocently said. Lin Dong rolled his eyes when he heard Little Martin's useless advice. However, he immediately let out a deep breath. His eyes stared at the sea of lightning and hesitated for a moment. The pride in his heart suddenly rose. I want to experience just how difficult it is to pass through this sea of lightning. After laughing out loud, Lin Dong pressed his toes onto the rock and his body rushed forward. Kai? However, a force that could not be resisted suddenly surged out from all directions the moment Lin Dong charged out from the area around the rock. It directly pressed his body down and caused him to fall into the sea of lightning. Hiss hiss. Lin Dong's feet landed onto the sea of lightning but did not sink into it. However, the electric liquid came swarming over. Immediately, an intense pain surged out from his feet. This kind of feeling was as though he had stepped into a pot of boiling oil. The intense pain from under his feet also caused Lin Dong to swiftly recover. He hurriedly maneuvered his yuan power. A gold glow surged from under his skin. Within the blink of an eye, his entire body was covered by the golden glow. Clearly, he had activated the Nirvana golden body. Creak creak. With the activation of the Nirvana golden body, the intense pain had quickly weakened significantly. However, Lin Dong was still able to sense threads of wild and violent energy surging into his body from his feet. Even his veins became a little swollen wherever the energy passed, appearing as though it had been electrocuted. Zap! The hair on Lin Dong's head directly became vertical at this moment. He appeared just like a hedgehog and was extremely comical. His mouth widened and a thread of black smoke was emitted from it. Damn it! Lin Dong's expression was a little black. He gritted his teeth and cursed. After the experiment from earlier, he discovered that it was actually impossible to fly over this sea of lightning. In other words, he could only traverse this endless sea of lightning by walking. The wild and violent energy within the sea of lightning continued to invade into Lin Dong's body. Only by continuously activating the Nirvana golden body did he manage to barely resist it. However, activating the Nirvana golden body required the support of a large amount of yuan power. The exhaustion of activating this Nirvana golden body as though one was consuming a meal was something that even Lin Dong had difficulty enduring. I have even walked across the darkness world of the devouring ancestral symbol. I don't believe that I am unable to cross your sea of lightning. Lin Dong parted his mouth. A stubbornness had been stirred in him by this sea of lightning. Immediately, a thought passed through his mind. Wisps of golden light surged out from under his skin. After which, they agglomerated under his feet. Golden light dissipated from it and blocked the pouncing electric liquid. Cluck! Lin Dong transformed his feet into a pair of golden feet. After which, he clenched his teeth, raised his foot and walked forward. Sizzle sizzle. Lin Dong's foot landed on the sea of lightning. Even with the protection of the Nirvana golden body, he still felt as if he was walking on countless steel needles. Cold sweat had already seeped out of Lin Dong's forehead, after only talking a couple of steps. The intense pain spread upwards from his feet. However, the stubbornness in Lin Dong's eyes became increasingly dense. His descending footsteps also became increasingly firmer. Amidst the lighting curtain that filled the sky, a figure gradually walked into the distance under the protection of the faint golden glow. Above the electric sea, a glaring lightning accompanied by an angry dragon roar like thunder, streaked across the horizon and bombarded brutally onto the electric sea, creating sky-high tidal waves instantly. The tidal waves that were formed by the electric liquid clashed against a flimsy figure who was engulfed by a golden light on the surface of the sea. Bang! Deep and low clashing sounds were given off while that figure was being knocked back by a few meters. As the violent electric liquid dripped down from his body and interweaved with the golden glow, popping sounds sounded off repeatedly. This figure walking amid the electric sea was naturally Lin Dong, who was trying to crash his way through the green dragon test. At this moment, his body was slightly crooked after he was hit by the electric liquid-formed tidal wave. His facial expression was somewhat distorted and he appeared to be in pain. These electric liquids contained a rather violent energy. Under such energy, even with the protection of the Nirvana golden body, the intense pain that was caused by that kind of corrosion could not be avoided. That feeling was as if steel rods were being thrusted into one's body and pierced through one's bones and heart. Phew! Lin Dong's mouth quickly gasped for 2 mouthfuls of breath before his tightly clenched fists loosened up slowly. Then, he straightened his body, which was previously made crooked from the collision against the tidal wave. After walking for nearly half a day, he had encountered such situation countless times. The pain caused by the electric liquids was rather torturing. If not for the Nirvana golden body, he would be corroded by the electric liquids until even his bones did not remain. However, even though it was painful, Lin Dong discovered some loopholes while he was being struck continuously by the intense pain. It seemed that every time the level of pain reached its climax, the violent energy would release a form of weird energy. This energy was extremely weak. Every time it appeared, it would dissipate into Lin Dong's body. If it was not for his sharp perception for mental energy, he would not have noticed it. This weird energy that seeped out from the electric liquids did not boost Lin Dong's yuan power. However, he could feel that he was unknowingly strengthened by that strange energy. After he was being strengthened, it seemed that he gained a bit more resistance towards the corrosiveness of the electric liquids. Even though the pain remained excruciating, it was clearly better than the beginning. Should it continue to strengthen, perhaps Lin Dong would be able to disregard the raging electric sea one day. Yet, in order to reach that stage, one may not realize the intensity of pain he has to endure. If one's mind is not resilient or if he is pretty much a weakling, even if one realizes this situation, one may not be able to survive. Considering this and its speed, to achieve the stage of disregard to the lighting, Lin Dong wiped off the streak of electric liquid on his head, looked up at the silvery electric sea that still no end before he frowned slightly. Based on his conjecture, at this rate, it would take at least half a year's time. And obviously, Lin Dong cannot afford the time. Within half a year, the 100 Empire War will begin. Before that begins, he must pass through the Green Dragon trial and gain the Green Dragon Hall's inheritance. It is not impossible to raise the speed. While Lin Dong was agonizing over this, the voice of little Martin rang inside him. Do you have a solution? Lin Dong was a little startled and asked little Martin instead. These electric liquids indeed contain a kind of strengthening energy. It will only be released at the climax of your pain. However, the energy released automatically is only 1/10 of the total amount of energy that the electric liquids really contained. As long as you can keep the remaining 90% of the energy, the speed of your body strengthening will naturally be increased, little Martin explained nonchalantly. Then, what is next? Lin Dong plainly asked. Upon hearing what was being said, Lin Dong did not lose control in ecstasy. Instead, his eyelids were drooping. He knew that there was no free lunch in this world. There's nothing much. It's just that the pain that you have to endure will be 10 times stronger than before, little Martin smirked. 10 times. The corners of Lin Dong's eyes twitched. Even though he had made the mental preparations, his body still could not help but tremble. That kind of pain was not something that an ordinary human could endure. It's indeed something unbearable. However, this is the only way to increase the speed of strengthening your body. Of course, it still depends on you whether or not you can do it, little Martin replied. What choice do I have? Lin Dong seemed somewhat helpless. Then, he straightened his body and gazed into the distance and said, It's up to you to harvest the remaining energy. As for enduring the pain, leave it to me. Let's start. Lin Dong clenched his fists and his eyes became focused abruptly. Then, without any hesitation, he took a step forward. TCH. As Lin Dong started to walk again, the lightning from the electric sea immediately extended towards him and transmitted from his feet into his body. At once, the intense pain came surging through his body again. I will start now. You will have to endure the pain by yourself. If you can't handle the pain, tell me. As the violent energy gushed into Lin Dong's body once again, little Martin's voice slightly gravened. After it finished its sentence, Lin Dong could feel the sharp pain in his body intensified almost in an instant. The step that Lin Dong just took on the electric sea stopped and his body unexpectedly trembled repeatedly. Cold sweat continuously trickled down from his forehead and finally followed the sides of his face and dropped off. Unexpectedly, that kind of sharp pain could be so brutal. The facial features of Lin Dong were severely distorted and his mouth was gasping for huge mouthfuls of breath. After a long time of being in such state, the washed-out Lin Dong could finally feel the intense pain gradually fading. Gulp! As the intense pain faded, Lin Dong's long-awaited weird energy finally arrived like the spring rain that immersed him. The weird energy extended through his limbs and into his bones. At that moment, Lin Dong's muscles, nerves and cells, which were being numbed by the intense pain, started to show signs of heating up. The energy that he had expended due to the intense pain previously was restoring bit by bit now. The strength that he felt earlier was becoming stronger and stronger indistinctly. It's indeed effective. When Lin Dong sensed the recovered strength in his body, his mood uplifted abruptly and a glint of happiness flashed across his eyes. Under the immersion of the weird energy, he could feel that his whole body was gradually strengthening. At this rate, he might be qualified to take on the second Nirvana tribulation in a relatively short time. Even though this green dragon test was painful, it was actually an ideal training ground. Keep going. As Lin Dong felt the recovered strength in his body, he then took a deep breath. Currently, there was not too much time left and he could not possibly waste any more time in this place. Soon after he made a slight adjustment, he took a step forward and continued walking. On the seemingly boundless electric sea, a faint golden glow engulfed figure could be seen walking across the sea slowly. However, his walking posture was as firm as a mountain. The electric sea was extremely vast. A person standing in the midst of this sea would seem as insignificant as an ant. However, Lin Dong did not cower under such the greatness of the sea. Instead, he continued to walk forward without stopping at all. Clearly, it was impossible to pass through the electric sea in one day's time. With regards to time, Lin Dong was too lazy to keep track of it. All he knew was to keep on walking, step by step. No matter how big the electric sea was, there must be an end to it. Time silently slipped by in the electric sea. 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days. Just 3 days ago, Lin Dong almost had enough of the torturing pain. Under that kind of intense pain, even his determined nature nearly gave way. Fortunately, human body possessed the adaptability to such intense pain and there was the strengthening property of being under the intense pain as well. Even though each training session would leave Lin Dong in severe pain, he would ultimately persevere through his sufferings. Even little Martin was rather surprised at his nature. After going through the last 3 days of utmost pain, contrary to belief, the intense pain was not alleviated. Instead, it was actually because Lin Dong's body started to get increasingly used to the torturing pain. As the time continued to pass, especially when it reached the 10th day, Lin Dong's body seemed to develop the antibodies to resist the abusive force of the electric sea. That kind of intense pain started to alleviate significantly. However, even though Lin Dong started to develop the antibodies, he still could not see the end of the electric sea. Lin Dong was slightly puzzled at this situation. However, he never panicked at all. Since it was supposed to be a test, there was bound to be an endpoint. It may be assumed that the exceptionally powerful practitioner who created this dimension would not be that senseless to fool around with the later generations on purpose. With this thought in his mind, Lin Dong continued to walk on this vast electric sea for another 5 days. Boom! Silver lightnings descended from the black clouds continuously. Finally, they struck the electric sea and created a sky-high lightning tidal wave. As that lightning tidal wave swept across the sea, a faint golden glowing figure could be seen walking slowly on the sea. When the tidal wave clashed against him ruthlessly, he did not even budge. TCHH. The electric liquids that stuck onto his body were sparking with electric arcs. However, they could no longer cause the slightest amount of pain on his body that had gone through half a month of training in this electric sea. Lin Dong used his palm to swipe off the electric liquids on his body. In half a month's time, his body had strengthened significantly. After going through that kind of torturing pain that ordinary people could not have imagined, he finally received a deserving reward. Lin Dong gazed into the distance and looked at the resplendent silverish electric sea and furrowed his eyebrows. According to his perception, the amount of strengthening that the electric sea could give his body had weakened significantly. At this point of time, this test seemed to be useless. It should be ending soon, Lin Dong muttered as he stared at the electric sea. Buzz. Just as Lin Dong finished his sentence, the surrounding atmosphere suddenly froze. In the middle of the electric sea, numerous violent whirlpools emerged. Lin Dong lowered his head and looked at the rolling electric sea beneath his feet. Soon after, his eye pupils dilated and he could feel that something was coming out from beneath the depths of the electric sea. This video will end here.